here with Theodore Kincaid.
Hi there.
And I'm Suzanne Snyder, and this is a brief interview with a teaching artist for Northern Journeys.
Excellent.
So, my first question is, how did you get into your art form?
So I'm colorblind, and so I've always kind of stayed away from painting, just as like an insecurity. But I think that, so I drew a lot, and after a while, I started taking a painting class. So why not? And it became kind of challenging, and I decided that I'd let my insecurity be. I might not be putting the colors down properly, like the way they should be, but I'm going to work with that and let that be, what it is. And then it kind of took off. It was more exhilarating. A drawing doesn't feel as complete as a painting, and so that was kind of nice to have something a little bit more grandiose, something a little bit more to present than the scads of drawings that I had.
Right. Yeah. All right. That's really interesting.
And it was actually here at UAA that I learned to paint. So.
Great. Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Like, where did you study, and what you focused on? I guess. Yeah. So
I studied here. I also studied in Portland, but honestly, it was the teachers here that I think that inspired me the most.
Yeah.
I think that they really kind of let me do my own thing and helped me do my own thing instead of trying to. This is how you do it. It's like, okay, this is what you're doing. Here's another way to think. So that was really kind of nice.
With art and creativity, it's usually not best to keep it extremely structured. That's the whole idea. Just let people use their imaginations and be creative. Yeah, absolutely. How did you learn to work with kids, and what encouraged you to become a teaching artist?
So that was what I wanted to do ultimately at UA, was to get an art and economics degree so that I can go and teach economics, because I love that idea. But it ended up, so it's kind of like the marriage of the two, like teaching and art.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not the economic side so much, but thus as being an artist.
Right.
And then that was kind of, there was little things here and there that came along, a friend of mine down in Girdwood has an art camp, and so he's like, hey, would you like to come and teach kids how to do art? It's like, yeah, that sounds like fun. And I started working with different community groups, just a little bit here and there, not big gusto or anything, but eventually the Anchorage Artist Co-op put together an open house for Northern Journeys, and so I got to meet some of the people there, and we hit it off really well, and started working with them.
Great. Yeah. How do you find inspiration for your art?
It depends. So there's, so I'll come up with a concept for a show. Maybe, one of the most popular was this Holy Beast series, and it was taking kind of slightly out of the box, but not entirely out of the box, animals like the Dungeness crab, and making them a holy relic, so giving a little halo and everything, and kind of a children's style. And the idea was to instead of just deify particular things, just deify everything.
Yeah.
So that was one. Another one, I love history, so historically important automobiles was another one. It was just a series of those, and kind of this graffiti meets indie comic style. Another one was people who have inspired me in history. So it's just kind of whatever.
Yeah. And have you ever found a way to kind of incorporate your love of economics with art at all, or would you try?
That would be such a hard one.
Yeah,
I did do one painting of Cantillon, which is an economist.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. Did you have any inspirational teachers growing up who inspired you to pursue art?
Yeah, I think my painting professor here at UA, Kat, she was really amazing, and then really kind of pushing me to try new things and to do new things. I had another professor here that was a art history professor that kind of helped me see the connection between actually economics and art, and how every time there was an economic boom, there was art being created. And so I started thinking about things differently, is how art and society work hand in hand. We often want to think that one begets the other, but
it's all connected. Yeah. Great. How can we as future teachers help inspire our students to pursue creativity?
So I think I was thinking about that on the way over. I was thinking what is the role of the artist? And of course, we all want to boil things down to the one tagline, right? But so I'll try to do that and do it in justice. But I think part of the deal with arts is that a lot of artists work in allegory. right? So I think that we don't necessarily work in like, this is what it is. Instead, it's like, here's a different way of looking at that thing. And I think that when we teach, and this is, I'm a parent, so I do this too, like, so I think that our human tendency is to like tell it like, this is what's going on, this is what's going on. And sometimes, I don't know about you, but like there's been, years later somebody will say something and all of a sudden like, something my mom said previously made sense.
Yeah.
it was just kind of tackling it from a different way. And I think that, with children, they don't always have like the life experiences that we do, so it's kind of hard to relate to them. And so maybe like tackling things through allegory, like different ways of looking at things could be helpful.
Something that we've learned a lot in our classes is differentiated instruction. So teaching students how to approach things in a lot of different ways and using different methods for projects or assignments, not just sticking with, the book the whole way, letting them explore new ways of thinking. And I think that's really important. What have you learned as a teaching artist through Northern Journeys?
I think it's, as an artist, it's kind of a selfish sport. Like we're creating this thing, it's ours, it's our baby.
Right.
And I think that, when you're working with other people, you have to take into their ideas and like work with them and try to see things through their perspective. I think it's, there's a lot more empathy and just like understanding. And that's kind of nice too, is like, just because they're not tackling things the way you want to tackle them, like that doesn't mean they're wrong. Like maybe you work with each other. So I think like the collaborative, synergistic, thing that happens when dealing with other people.
Yeah.
Really helpful.
And then, what has been your favorite aspect of Northern Journeys as a whole?
I think it's been an amazing opportunity So a lot of artists would think that it would suggest that, like, we often feel as though like there's been this divorce of like modern society and arts, and I think it's a beautiful thing that like it's bringing it together again in like a real way. Like having seeing artists as arts as an occupation that is valued and can be brought in at the same level as like another expert. Maybe it's like a legal expert or a medical expert or something like that. So I think like,
or an economist.
Exactly. So I feel that like paying artists to do that instead of asking for volunteers is really important. I think that was really kind of beautiful. Because in the end, like artists have to pay their rent somehow.
Yeah, of course.
So I think that was really cool. I also feel that I've done 3 of these classes, and I've always seen the teachers walk away like grateful. Like they kind of felt that there was like they were important too. Because I think that sometimes maybe teachers feel as though they're kind of like abandoned in their room, and like to be kind of like the focus of like having an artist come in, like feel special for them. So I think that's kind of like it feels like there's like a reward for them. There's a reward for the artist, and the kids always love it. Like I have a refrigerator covered in drawings of kids like, "Thank you so much, we love you."
That's so sweet, yeah. So yeah, that's inspiring and exciting, and I think it's really great that Northern Journeys can kind of connect artists with mentor teachers, at different schools, and then also connect, teachers or future teachers like me in the process, because we can all kind of work together and see what the best way is to incorporate creativity and imagination and all of that into the classroom. I think that's really important. So I'm glad that this is all working out, and I'm glad you had a really positive experience with Northern Journeys, and I hope it can continue.
Oh, me too.
Great.
Yeah, thank you so
well,
much.
thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah.